Hello, this is Vibhuti Jha and this is Sanatan World. Welcome to the show. Please like, subscribe, and support our channel. Give your feedback. I want to talk to you about the new team that the BJP has announced, and that's a very heartening change. It's a heartening change for one good reason, because I see a seriousness of intent. Because 2029 will come in a blink of a moment. You won't even feel that it arrived right around the corner. And 2029 election is remarkably critical as well. So if you want to do something in 2029, it's high time you started doing things now. And I see a very clear focus that the communication methodology will change. And I have been a champion of communication. I personally believe, and I have said this many times, those viewers who are familiar with me, I have coined the Mool Mantra of communication. And the Mool Mantra of communication, from Smriti Irani to Mr. Bhandari to Pratik Sinha to everybody else, they have to remember the Mool Mantra. The Mool Mantra is words matter. Words change minds, and minds move mountains. Just remember that. Words matter, words change minds, and minds move mountains. And that's the critical 3-point mantra. And I like to simplify things. Having been in the business of improving people from going from good to great, what we have done is, what we have realized, that there are always, you have to simplify things that you are doing. And as Albert Einstein said, any intelligent fool can complicate a simple problem. It takes courage to move in the other direction. Keeping that into account, here is my humble submission to the new team. There are several I know personally. We have met at Jaipur Dialogues annual summits, Mr. Pradeep Bhandari ji, Pratik Sinha ji, Shahzad Poonawala. All three of them I know personally. We have met. They can't deny that they don't know me. And they are brilliant minds, great speakers, great people who can argue, counter-argue, present their point of view. But what is common in this whole thing? And that is what is important for me to share with the team. And BJP has some outstanding spokespeople. Doesn't mean you don't develop others. So let me give you a background story to this. When in 2014, Prime Minister Modi had won the elections, I had met some heavy hitters in BJP. And I submitted to them a very simple proposal. The proposal related to our direct work in relation to how to communicate in the digital era. This is very important. How to communicate in the digital era. The one thing that disappeared with the digital era, that the politician or anybody else who had a pastime in saying, I have been quoted out of context. It doesn't happen anymore. Your whole context in which you spoke or you did something gets played hundreds of times in a day and forever. I also want to share with you a background. Consulting in a significant Middle East country. After the work was over, the chairman, the sheikh, asked me a very pertinent question. He asked me, Mr. Jha, how will technology impact us? It was a very interesting question. And I said to him, not a prepared reply, but whatever came to my mind at that point in time, I said, the tectonic shift brought by technology has completely changed the way we communicate with each other. You can't hide anymore, and you can't lie anymore, because the tale that you will leave behind will live to tell its own tale. And that's what we are seeing, what's happening around us. Think about it for a moment. How are we communicating? And that's the goal the BJP's new team has to have going forward to 2029 and beyond. Your Mool Mantra has to be communication, narrative making, and offering no apologies where none is due. This is very critical. It is normally believed that if I say sorry, it's okay. No, it's not. You offer apologies only when you have made a mistake or you have done some damage. You do not offer apologies for something that you haven't done. Classic example of when Prime Minister talked about the Dimagi Naxals at the Red Fort speech of his. Immediately you saw the Dimagi Naxals coming out in the open and becoming the next breed of cockroaches, right? From P. Chidambaram onwards down the line, everybody was saying Dimagi Naxal. Rajdeep Sardesai was fuming. And Kiran Rijuji made a statement, we did not mean to say opposition parties. Why was that necessary? It's a very classic case analysis, actually. That was not necessary because Prime Minister's statement was not directed towards any political party or to anybody. It was called a disease. It is an observation the Prime Minister made. And he was referring to, in my opinion, those woke elements who are driven by ideology more than anything else. So it was driven towards Islamists, Marxists, Leninists, communists, socialists, you name them. The extreme liberal fanatics on the left, extreme religious fanatics on the right, who are driven by an ideology. They don't see you and I, they see only their ideology. And that when that evil gets into your head, that's called the mental illness. That is called Dimagi Fitrat, Dimagi Naxal. That is the hard line who is not willing to change. So Rijuji is a classic example. He did not have to make that statement at all. Maze udao na. Enjoy the discomfiture of your enemies. If you don't want to call them enemies, that's fine. Call them opponents. Remember one thing, your opponent is there to disrupt everything that you want to say and do, whatever you want to achieve. Because it's only in your disruption that he gains momentum of his own. Remember Rahul Gandhi a few days ago? What a dirty public behavior he had. Do you mean to say he needs to apologize? Let me put it that way. He needs to apologize to not only Prime Minister, but the Mrs. Meloni, Prime Minister of Italy or President of Italy, and he needs to apologize to people of India, where he mocked a Prime Minister's personal style of hugging somebody. That's a personal style. That's the way he is. Rahul Gandhi can't become 6 feet tall, right? That is his persona. That is the physicality of that man. So does he begin to hate everybody who is 6 feet tall? No. That's the point which I'm trying to make. No apologies. Now, second thing is about communication. I said the Mool Mantra of communication. One of the key elements of communication is conveying the message in a timely way, in a manner that the other person understands. Look, I can complicate our philosophy, our way of life, and give a very pristine, pure answer. But the other guy doesn't have the capacity to understand. You have to understand who the person is that you are telling something to about. A very simple example. Whenever somebody asks me, why you Hindus don't eat beef? I said, there are many reasons, but suffice to say to you, perhaps same reason that you don't eat horse meat, dog meat, cat meat. Ever thought about it? They immediately go silent. I don't have to give the justification of Gaumata and varieties of things, which is essential to us. That's the message which I'm trying to convey here. The communication. Remember the 3 Mool Mantra. Words matter, words change minds, and minds move mountains. Your objective is to move the mountains that are sitting in front of you, behind you, that are obstructionists all the day. How do we take that out? Narrative making is key. In addition to communication and no apologies, I will narrative making is key. If we don't define to others who we are, then others define us what we are. There's a distinct distinction between the who you are and what we are. Others define us as what we are. We have to define ourselves as who we are. If we don't say that, and that's what is important here, that narrative making, everything that we are not has to be dispelled. And everything we are has to be propagated. Remember, there's a difference between propagation and propaganda. Let others do their propaganda. We must do our own propagation of our theory. Look, it's a short program, so I don't want to say a lot more here, but I want to share with you something. In 2014, when Prime Minister won the elections, I had submitted a note to a very big BJP leader. And my observation at that time was that Prime Minister alone cannot respond to every criticism or every question asked by the Hydra-headed opposition, which is a coalition of so many other elements. So from Sharad Pawar to Arvind Kejriwal, up and down the ladder, Prime Minister cannot address everybody's accusations, clarifications, and everything else. And I had suggested at that time to that leader, select a band of 20, 25, or 30 prominent, smart, parliamentarians or non-parliamentarians or party functionaries, and train them in the art of communication in the digital era. That's very important. Today, in this digital era, just because a mic is put in front of you doesn't mean you have to necessarily speak. You can also smile. You can communicate in more ways than one. Remember certain very simple practices. Less is more. And this is something which I will talk later about. In another conversation, I'm going to talk about Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, their communication styles. You will understand that. But suffice to say here today that I gave that suggestion primarily because BJP needs, this is one of the classic traits of Indians, and I specifically say Hindus. We have a tradition of debate and dialogue. Few are very good at it, but majority, the average is way low down. And we have to develop that. And that development can happen through learning. And learning is possible. And you have to have willingness to learn. You know what I was told then? Aap hame kya sikhayenge, hame sab pata hai. Today, Amit Malviya ji has a responsibility. Good, bad, or ugly, I don't know him at all. I've never met him. I don't know him. I only hear reports where he failed, where he did well, and I see his tweets. I know I want him to do only two things. He must convene the meeting of this new team. He must go there and say two things. Areas and statements where he messed up. He could have done much better, or he need not have done. Right? He could have done much better, and especially focus on areas where he did badly and why. What misfired. This is the way you learn from each other. Amit Malviya did not mean any harm to BJP or the party, but sometimes path to mistake is paved with good intentions, right? So ladies and gentlemen, I see this as a new team coming, and I also want the BJP team, the smart, knowledgeable, educated, and choice words, make the whole thing happen in the manner that I have kind of suggested, right? You have all your own thoughts, and good luck with that. As I always say, Satyameva Jayate, and Satya to triumph, you and I have to get up, stand up, and fight for it. Thank you. Namaste.